right, good afternoon. It's Monday, February 5th. It is the most unproductive day of the year, the day after the Super Bowl. Today we are joined by Schmid Etienne, who's got some great news with his new business. Congratulations, we'll get into that soon, as well as Christine Mortensen, who's the CMO of Bunker Labs. We're going to be talking about branding and company culture today with probably one of the best people we could be talking about this with, the Chief Joyologist of Tito's Handmade Vodka, Amy Lukken. She's also a Bunker Labs board member, so very honored to have you here. We are also featured in their Vodka for Dog People calendar, which is probably the biggest honor we've had all year, so thank you for that. So stay tuned today for a great show today on The Breakdown. All right, cool. So we are joined here today by Amy Lukken, who's the Chief Joyologist at Tito's Vodka. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.
Did you watch the Super Bowl last night?
I watched a little bit of it, of course.
Who'd you root for?
The Eagles.
The Eagles.
Yeah.
That was pretty much the consensus.
Our chapter leaders in Philly are mighty proud.
Yeah, the
hungover.
Bunker Labs internal national group email last night was pretty pretty wild. Yeah. So I think that it was a good game. It was fine. I want to get right into this. So you just came in here a few minutes ago.
Yes.
We're not planning on being on The Breakdown. Tell us what your business is so Amy can know and some
Absolutely.
As well.
So the company name is Reset. We are a well-being and stress management program. Our focus is to work purely with individuals within companies to help the company grow overall by improving their wellness and well-being aspect of life.
Boy, that business must be popular in today's world.
Yes, it is.
Or in high demand, Schmid.
Yes, it is. Especially everyone is stressed nowadays.
Well, listen, we've been using vodka for years for our stress level.
So, Amy, will you just take a moment and just explain who you are and what you do at Tito's?
Sure. I'm Amy Lukken. I live in Austin, Texas, and I am the Chief Joyologist for Tito's Handmade Vodka. And that's everyone, laughs and says it's the greatest title, but I think it comes from a background of corporate America. And we can get into that a little bit later, or if we can get into it now if you guys want, of how does that come about, being a joyologist.
Terrific.
So,
is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, I would say jump right in. We already had an online question earlier about what is a chief joyologist and how can someone become one?
Well, it's interesting. You need to know the background first. I was in corporate America for about 29 years, and I tell people that I climbed the grease pole of corporate America and made it to the very top. And I looked out and I thought, wow, this is how we're running our business and this is how we're treating people. And I really thought, you know what, there's got to be a different way, a better way. And so at that point, I started studying because I looked and did research, and I realized that, Schmid, you'll see this in your company as well, the number one most valuable asset in any organization are the people.
Absolutely.
Right?
Right.
And the most complex system in any business ever is going to be the people. So if that's the case, then you better start studying people, right?
That's correct.
And that's really what happened. So I was at an intersection of my career of saying there's got to be a better way. And I started studying behaviors, and I studied with everything from psychologists to sociologists to Buddhist monks to anything you could imagine, anyone that would speak to me and I could work with and study. Cardiologist, neurologist, and it came to a place where I thought, gosh, there's so many sciences about, whenever you put an ology at the word of, it means to study up. So there were so many ologies about what's wrong with people. There were no sciences about what's right with us. So it was then that led me to how do we develop a science around what's right and good with people and shine the light on that. So that's under construction, but that's how it all began.
And
I can ask each one of you right now to become joyologists today if you need it.
I would love to be the joyologist.
I think
Stand still.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So company culture is incredibly important to you, and leading with passion. I think is there any advice that you might give to a young veteran entrepreneur, startup founder, when they're starting to hire people or when they're thinking about how to create their brand? What's important? What should be your focus when you're trying to bring in people?
Well, I think that first cultures are set by the leaders, right? So your actions and behaviors. I mean, culture is basically, it's defined as a set of values, beliefs, behaviors, or characteristics of an organization. So think about it. Whatever the leader's values are, beliefs, and his action characteristics are what sets the tone for a culture. So I think becoming more aware of your own behaviors as a leader and be more mindful of what you want to set for your culture is critical. So I think it starts there, right? And then from that point down, I think it's more about looking at business. What if your business was a person?
Mm-hmm.
That person needs.
Right.
And basically, people should be loved, right?
Yeah.
So if you began to love your people in the business and began to value them, that would set a different, unique culture. So it's kind of a different twist, what we're not used to in corporate America. It's more about dollars and cents and ROI and bottom line. But if you look at it, I believe that people are your bottom line. So set your culture at the very top, and then value your people along the way, love them. And I know that that's kind of an interesting topic in today's world. But it's meaningful because, think about it, people will leave an organization for the exact same reason. They'll leave if they're making $5 or $5 million, but it's the same reason why they'll leave. And they leave because they don't feel valued. So set your culture from the top, love your people, and value them.
Wow, that's some great insight. You're probably like on the border right now. This is good, relevant talk. So tell us what the news you just came in here a minute ago.
Basically, we Reset got the opportunity to present to Google. So we're gonna take the shot at it. We're gonna start the process of talking to them in the following weeks and months to see how we can actually bring Reset into the whole forefront of Google. So that's the
How long have you been running Reset for?
So Reset's been in play for about a year and a half. So before we started Bunker Lab program, which is now
Lunch
Labs. So since then we've been working on Reset, which started more from using sensory deprivation tanks to now moving to something that is more using mindfulness as well as the way to help people become more aware of their body. Just basically the same thing that you are saying. We are working with growth in culture by focusing purely on the individual. So how can we improve the potential in the well-being of the individual by making them more whole and make them feel more optimal.
Right.
So that's the goal of what we are doing. And we started this process about a year and a half ago, and we finally got to where we wanted to be about roughly 10 months ago. We started, the company was launched 8 months ago, and slowly but surely we...
You just landed a deal with Google, man. All right? Yeah,
sounds like things are going well.
Yeah, studio audience here is
What's your story, Schmid? How did you get into this business? Or what made you go to this area?
So my main focus, I'm an exercise physiologist. I work mainly with individual that's a little bit older that's trying to improve their life. So my whole goal was to find a way to reduce gravity, to help them optimize their joints so the muscle can work better, because a lot of them become very stiff. And by doing that, the best way for me to provide them with an environment where gravity was the least amount effective, could affect them the least, would either be in a pool or sensory deprivation, where there's basically no gravity at all. That's kind of like how I started, and I experimented with it. I was floating once a week, and my business partner was doing the same thing, but mainly for mindfulness and stress relief. And we ended up talking about how effective it was for both of us, and how if we combine the physical aspect as well as the mental aspect, how could that become something that's extremely important And that's how we really started with the whole concept of Reset. Yeah.
Nice. Interesting.
Yeah.
So Amy, you were talking about making sure that employees feel valued, and that's no matter if someone's making, $500 to $5 million, they'll leave because they don't feel valued. What are some steps that you've taken at Tito's Handmade Vodka in order to really make employees feel valued, like every day? Like what are some examples that maybe an entrepreneur could work into their culture?
I think you can do it as simple as tying an action or, valuing them and encouraging them, tying it to an action or behavior versus just saying to somebody, great job or nice or whatnot. Actually tying it to, no, it's all right. Tying it to something specific, right? So acknowledging a certain behavior. I think that's probably the most simple, gift I could give. And then all the way up to valuing people's thoughts and ideas and letting them, if you hire the right talent for the right role, then just let them run. There's got to be trust there, and you've got to be able to encourage them to create and collaborate on their own, and then just let them run. So I think, that's another way to value someone is to listen to their ideas. Deep listening is a simple 2 words, but we don't do enough of it for people. So when we feel heard, we're valued, right? So those are just a couple little quick ones. I think we also value our employees at a higher level, and we'll get into the business model that we're all about with our giving. But allowing people to give to others has been a huge value that we place on our employees. So those are, from the bottom line of an action or behavior, tying the encouragement to that, to all the way up to setting the platform for your team to be able to give back to others.
I think that as a young entrepreneur, the thought of giving complete autonomy to somebody with a task, it's terrifying. And so it's something that I constantly work on is my ability to delegate and not micromanage everything. I think that's something that a lot of us, as passionate entrepreneurs and as veterans want to go out and lead, that's a great lesson to take away. Mm-hmm. To your point about Tito's giving, obviously Tito's been an incredible contributor to Bunker Labs, as well as this calendar vodka for dog people. You provide support to a number of like the Humane Society, a number of organizations that support dogs. What else is Tito's Handmade Vodka passionate about right now? What's driving you right now?
It's interesting and difficult to pick one charity at the same time. It's because the background of our story is that Tito started giving, 21 years ago, and it was out of necessity versus an intentional, go and give to a charity. So he's been donating product to any 501c that calls for 20-some years. But I think that the big turn was when, a few years ago that he was able to give his employees the ownership of, they get to choose what charity they want to give. So he provides them with the product for in-kind donations, and then he gives them a certain amount of an allowance that they get to choose what charity to support. So with that, there's not one charity that we, love over the other one. We say to everyone, we love them all, and we really do. So last year we were close to about 6,000 charity events that we did. Wow. So it's
that's remarkable.
It's pretty interesting. I have to think about when people ask me what are we interested in the most or what's happening right now. I have to think about my day, right? So I would probably say right now, today was interesting because we got to leverage our brand with another brand to give back in a much bigger way. And so we normally support the the B team type charities, or the farm team we call them, the smaller to medium size.
Right.
So it's hard to choose. But everything from dogs to medical to technology to international to LGBT to military. So we're all across the board.
That's amazing. So any last thoughts or questions before moving to hacks? Cool. All right, so every week we do a little segment called Hacks, where we go around and we say one thing or tool or podcast or book, just something that like can be free or cheap for early stage entrepreneurs to go and make their lives more convenient or more productive at work. Amy, what's something that you use or do or listen to or read that you find value in that others should also do or read or listen to? Or yeah.
You know, I tell you something. Meditation is straight up way to go. And I learned that from a top salesperson a few years ago. He was in Detroit, Michigan, and all of Detroit 8 years ago when they were losing sales, his sales numbers kept climbing where the business was crashing with the General Motors. Anyway, long story short, I'm wearing a Pause bracelet right now, and the company is called Pause, Pause. You can go online and find them. But it's a simple bracelet with a silent vibration that vibrates every 60 seconds to remind you to pause for just a second and give gratitude to whatever you're grateful for. So gratitude will change your whole entire being, from your belief system to your physicalities. So I would say meditation and this Pause bracelet to remind me. But the story about Detroit was, the guy told me, I said, look, your numbers keep going up, but Detroit is crashing. What's happening? He said, I medicate twice a day. I said, what are you taking? And he laughed. He said, no, I meditate. So
twice a day. So medication twice a day.
help you and get you more strategic.
That'll be the headline for this breakdown. It'll be, medicate twice a day. Amy Lukken from.
So what's yours?
I'll go next. Yeah, mine will be I'll give a physical like takeaway. We recently set up an account with Amazon. So if military veterans who are in the tech space need free servers for 2 years, we got you. So we did this program, AWS Activate, through Amazon, that is going to provide basically every single veteran startup that needs free server space for up to $5,000 in free credits. If you want those free servers, email me at william.crane@bunkerlabs.org. I can't imagine I'll ever regret that, but that's the best way for me to distribute that is just email. I sent it to like 35 people today, so I'll just keep doing that. That's my hack. Free servers.
Right on.
Yeah, mine, I mentioned it last time, is whenever I feel stuck or stressed or situation when I'm not in control, I use my reset word. So Reset, which is the name of our company, we create a way for you to design your own reset word that can actually take you from whatever stressful environment to a place or a space that allows you to, I guess I would use the word pause or breathe and reevaluate the situation fully.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool.
I've been enjoying the texts
Oh,
from the reset texts
absolutely.
that I've been getting.
Yeah.
So I guess my hack is actually a little bit more technical. There's a website called marvelapp.com. MARVELAPP. If you are creating any kind of website or mobile application, it's a great place to literally prototype what it's going to look like and get a sense of how it's going to work, get a sense of the user experience from one screen to the next, see how the flow will be. Because sometimes what you think in your brain and how you see it in your brain is not how it actually works out once you actually start playing and clicking around. So
and that's incredibly
Marvel
important for and we've had problems, like with developers, sometimes you need to put it on paper.
Yes.
As opposed to just saying, I want my app to, text people or whatever. The developer's going to develop what they hear. So it's good to have an outlet, a way for you to actually put what's in your brain on paper for them to see. So
Right.
Marvel
Exactly.
app.
Marvel app, yes.
It's great.
Another one is the Envision app.
Envision. Envision.
IN
Right.
Vision app.
Envision
That
Marvel.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Amy, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you will. Oh, wait, I meant to tell you this. Another board member, we had Seth Jordan on last week from Dog Tag Brewing. He's working on a project that's this cool, like, thermos cap that you press the thermos and it, like, shoots, like, a half a shot, basically, into, like, whatever you're drinking. But it's 5 ounces, I think. It's 5 ounces. Awesome company, but Seth, he's also on the Bunker Labs board. We need to get that conversation going, but anyway, I thought it was fascinating.
We did that today with another brand. I mean, not with a shot in it, but brand leveraging is where it's going for us next year.
Yeah.
This year, next year. So
can't wait.
Tell him that I'll see him at the next board meeting. Tell him to bring his prototype.
I'll tell him to bring it. Sounds
I'll
good.
bring his. He'll bring his prototype.
Well, it'll be a really productive board meeting. It sounds like. Cool. Quick plug. Next week we have Kim Young, who is the founder of Rumi Spice. They're the largest employer of Afghan women. They've been in business for about 3 years, and they import Afghan saffron straight from Afghanistan, harvested, cultivated, and packaged here in Chicago, but cultivated out there. Incredible company. You may have seen them on Shark Tank. Anyways, Kim Young will be here in studio with us next week for next week's breakdown. Amy, thank you so much. Any last thoughts or words?
No.
None?
Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
You
Talk to you
too.
soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.